So I've been improving myself for roughly 2 years now. And my definition, I guess, for the best habit has changed quite a bit. When I started, all I really was focusing on was, working out, calisthenics, gym, all that, right? And it was a really interesting switch because I went from someone who never did anything productive to someone who focused a lot on health and building muscle and building strength, and it was awesome. And then, you know, fast forward a few months and I focus on, more mental stuff. So reading, journaling, meditating. And this is where I felt the real benefits of self improvement, right? The gym, it's awesome. You build muscle, you build strength, you build confidence, and you just get better mental health in general. But I often found myself feeling unmotivated to go to the gym, even when I knew those benefits were present. And I would end up, either eating junk food or going on YouTube instead because that was just the easier thing to do. I don't blame myself for doing it. I think it wasn't the best choice. But I'm glad I learned and kind of shifted my ways most of the time. Right? I'm not perfect, obviously. I still make mistakes. I still do those things, but at a less rate. So I'm happy with my progress so far. But anyways, I think that switching over to that mental thing really showed me the power of the brain and of your mind, right? I think having positive overall thoughts, which I talked about in my last video, is the most important, benefit overall of self improvement. I don't think there's one that really comes close. It's amazing how much work you can get done when you're feeling present, you're mindful, you're, feeling good, right? I don't know about you, but when I'm feeling happy, when I'm feeling, motivated, present, all that, I do a lot better work and I do a lot more work when I'm in those periods of time. Uh, Contrast to when I'm feeling, sad, unmotivated, guilty, whatever, right? All that makes me unpresent because I'm thinking about either what I did or what I didn't do. And so my work suffers, my mental health suffers, and it's usually not very good work that I produce. And so meditating, I think, is the greatest habit to to be done, right? It may not seem like a lot. You're just sitting down and doing whatever. To a lot of people, that's what it looks like. But in reality, you're actually, building up your attention span. All right. I read somewhere that the average person is on Instagram for like an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. I forgot why I read that, but it was some sort of article. And I just thought that if someone's on Instagram 2 hours a day, that's like 700 something hours a year, which can be used a lot more productively. You can learn a skill, you can work on a project, There's a lot of things you can do with 700 hours a year, right? And practicing meditation, even if it's for very short, right? It can be a very important thing because you can start minimizing the bad habits when you're mindful, right? The more mindful I am, the better my day is, the better my week is, the better my month is, right? And staying mindful, by the way, means like knowing what you need to do, knowing what you don't want to do, and kind of getting in the zone, I would say, is being mindful. But yeah, meditating, at least what I do, I sit down with my back straight or I lie down. It really depends on the time. And I close my eyes and I just focus on the breath, right? Every time I breathe in, it's like one, and then every time I breathe out, two, and I count up to 10. And then I sort of repeat that process over and over for 3, 5, even 10 minutes. And I never really noticed, at least the first time I started meditating, I never noticed a difference in my, mental health or whatever until I stopped, right? After I stopped, I realized I was eating a lot more junk food. I was spending a lot more time online. and I wasn't doing all the good habits I used to do previously. And I've slowly built it up from there, right? I've been pretty consistent with my meditating, I'd say, probably 6-ish times a week. But it definitely didn't start like that. At first, I was doing probably 2 or 3 times a week, and I would get mad at myself because I wanted to do it more, but I would either forget or just push it off, right? And, after enough failing, after enough trying to be consistent, I eventually, got more consistent slowly. That's how it works. You can't, most of the time, build up a habit that you don't want to do, but you know is good for you. You can't do it from 0 to 100. There's a little bit of a point where you're trying to integrate it, but you're not quite doing it yet. And then as you do it more, as you work on your discipline, your mental health, it gets a lot easier to do because it's just part of your lifestyle at that point. And when I first started meditating, I was, failing a lot. I would lose track of what I was doing and start wandering in my mind, right? I would start thinking about something else. And then I realized that it was never truly failing to begin with. Every time I, quote unquote failed, I was just getting distracted. But then eventually I realized I was getting distracted and I would go back to my breath. And a YouTuber, Hamza, said that every time you do that, it's kind of like a rep in the gym. You're just working on something you're struggling with, and each time you come back to the present, then you're working out your brain muscle or something like that, right? And that was one of the times I realized where a fail is not truly a fail, right? I think the more I've been on self improvement, the more I've, failed, the more I've experimented, the more I realize that failing doesn't really exist. It's kind of just a mind thing. I think the more you fail, obviously, the more you get better at something. And failing is just a learning opportunity. It's just a time for analyzing what you did wrong. And it's never truly a fail. It's more like a roadblock because the only failures or the only fail is when you don't get back up again. And if you keep trying, if you keep working on it, using what you learned from when you didn't succeed, then you're going to win every time, right? If you don't try is the only way you're not going to achieve a goal, I think. That's what I've read, that's what I've heard. That's what I've seen, right? From calisthenics, from drawing, from I don't know what else. But yeah, from actually social life, I've gotten a lot better at talking to people. I've gotten a lot more confident. And I've really noticed a difference from meditating and from self improvement as a whole. I think it's a wonderful journey. I think everyone should at least try it out, see how it goes. And I think the world would be a lot better place if more people cared about their health, both mental and physical. And I think at least a lot of high schoolers would definitely benefit from it, right? I feel like people get so afraid of failing that they never really let themselves begin to try. And that sucks, I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of it. I hope you liked it. I have merch in the link in the description if you want to check it out. I mean, yeah, that's kind of it. I hope I hope this was helpful, right? I hope you learned something about meditating, about failure, and I hope this video is not too grainy because it's getting kind of dark. But thank you for watching.